Alright, hello and welcome back everybody. This is Allura SC coming at you with yet another Frost Knight tutorial video. Well, this one is more of a rehash or more of an update. Yeah, this is more of an update video because the Frost Knight build that we have been utilizing, that we've been using, has been constantly refining throughout these seven or so weeks of the Frost Knight event. So this is the current iteration of the build. I do understand that we do not have very much time left on this event. So for those of you who have not passed this event yet, and are looking and seeking desperately for information, this could be a last minute, a video that might be able to help you guys out. Alright, so before we go ahead and get started into the actual explanation of the video, I'd like to do a quick shout out to all of our members of the community, members of the guild extension, the Save the World community, as well as the people who are hanging out in the stream, my teammates, Moth, Brooks, all these guys who've been helping me to work on all these funnels, spending hours and hours, just sitting around punching walls with me, editing walls, placing traps and stuff like that, just scratching our heads and just trying our very best to make the build as good as possible. Alright, so yeah, big shout out to all of them. I do one more shout out also to Canadian Saint, as well as Moth, both of whom have helped with the layout of this creation of this layout of this particular overview map. Yeah, where all the mountains are, where the ridges are, where the stairs are, stuff like that, and replicating it into a little grid form. So thank you for helping me out with that. Alright, so yeah, without further ado, guys, let's get into the video. Alright, so first things first, guys. As you guys can see right here, I have simply left up all of the walls. Alright, I have hidden all of the traps and stuff like that. So this is the layout for all of the walls that you are going to be putting up, for this particular build, sealing off the husk and pathing them in a particular way. Alright, so explanation time. Okay, let's get into the northern side real quick. So as you will see, for the northern side over here, this is where the so-called military base is. Yeah, this is where the military base is. Yeah, the spawns come in from this side over here, and some of them might spawn from this side over here as well. Alright, so as you can see right here, this is sort of what we have decided on. Real quick, you'll see there's a little T shape over here, as well as this little L shapes over here. All these are going to be rigged up with wall launchers. Yeah, wall launchers. These green lines here denote wall launchers, and they're meant to send the husk backwards from where they came, as well as into the timeout funnels here as well. Alright, so this is here the northern spawn. They spawn from here. Alright, so the ones from here will spawn in and go this direction here toward the burner. Ones on this side over here will spawn in and go towards the burner from this direction, and the ones that do spawn on this little top side over here will go through this secondary spawn right there. Alright, so this is basically how it will look like. Now, in terms of how all these wall launchers are being placed, I think it's pretty much self-explanatory because I don't really want to go into too much depth and detail. That has already been done in the previous build video. So you guys can probably see already, this is exactly the way that you want to send it. Backwards and away. Backwards and away. Backwards and away. Always sending them backwards and away, and keeping them out of the base. Alright, so fairly straightforward stuff there. Okay, so that's basically for the northern spawn right there. Now, if we go ahead and start working on the northeastern spawn, you'll spawn in from right about there, and some of them might spawn over here as well. Alright, so what's going to happen is that they're all going to be walking in from this side over here, walking in from this side over here. You guys will basically notice, the way that we have basically built our funnels as well is As far as possible, we want to try and split the spawns. We want to try and split the spawns so that they become weaker and easier to deal with. If you have too many husks coming in from one particular point, they might get clogged up, which brings me to my next point, which is the placement of timeout funnels. Alright, the placement of timeout funnels. What do I mean by timeout funnels? Or timeout rooms, rather. Alright, you'll notice that these little snowflake icons right here denote freeze traps, yeah, freezing traps, and they're only placed, you know, right at the end of where the wall launchers are going to be sending the husks, right? So if you notice that, let's say for example, there's a husk coming in from here, this wall launcher is going to boot them right back into this corner right here where they will get frozen. Alright, so there is an explanation, there's a good explanation as to why we choose not to put all of these freezing traps in the main pathways or arteries. Now the reason for this is because when it comes to experience, we have noticed that whenever you place freezing traps in all of these main pathways, as well as if you try to congregate too many of the husks together, what tends to happen is that they get clogged up. They will form a huge obstruction. Let's imagine if we have a big bunch of husks over here, you know, it's frozen over there, alright? And if you are a husk and you're coming through here, alright, you'll be like, yikes, I can't go through, what am I gonna do? You might end up punching there, you might end up exploding yourself, or punching through all of these walls over there, alright? All of which are outcomes that you do not want. So if you will notice, all of these areas right here that are not really marked by any kind of trap, all of these are going to be rigged up with slowing floor spikes, the wooden floor spikes, the one that causes the husk to move slower and snared. Alright, so that's the main idea of keeping all of these freezing traps only in these timeout rooms, and that's it. You don't want to put them anywhere else. So, northeastern spawn, like I just mentioned, coming in from this side over here, done. So what are the biggest amendments or changes that we have made to this particular build is this eastern side over here. You'll notice that these axes over here denote a hard block off, meaning you just want to put lots and lots of sandwiches, you know, sandwich the walls, you know, with the stairs and the slanted floor pieces, you know, and just blocking it off entirely. So this is the little 2x1 on the lower ramp. You just want to completely block it off. And what this causes to do is that the spawns from east side, which we're now going into right now, instead of going through that little 2x1 archway over there, they will instead go up onto these stairs over here, through the natural stairs and through this path over here. You'll notice that in terms of the distance from which they will have to path is actually extended a lot via this particular block off over here. So let's give credit to Jay Brooks for floating the idea to me, who actually kind of got it from, I think, Jockster the Mighty, who was first seen doing this block off on the lower side over here. And I find that it is a very useful strategy to be doing, and has decided to incorporate this into our Frost Knight build. So yeah, for the eastern spawn, the lower ones will all go from this side over here. The eastern spawn also has the possibility, well, I mean, they more often than not will be spawning from up on this mountain side here as well, this hill. So when this happens, they are going to be walking down from here, alright, coming down from here and then going through this little angle right there towards the burner. This is where they will path, and as you can see, our traps are rigged up to suit and give maximum value for where the husks are going to be pathing from. So yeah, this is basically the eastern spawn, and let's move on to the southeastern spawn, the so-called rare spawn. So the southeastern spawn spawns in right here, and generally speaking, if you want to keep the build nice and easy, simple, you know, don't want to overcomplicate it, they will simply go through here. There's nothing that you need to do. Alright, now if you really want to, and if you have afforded the luxury of not having to care too much about your resources because you have a ton of it floating everywhere, what you could do as well is to go ahead and open up this second carriageway, or this second what do you call that, path right here, for them to be dual spawning from and going through. But honestly speaking, this is really not quite necessary. If you just leave it as this is right now, they will simply path there and it's all good to go. So not really necessary, but if you want to really do some overkill stuff, or if you want to make sure that the spawn from east side, that's coming through here is going to be split off, and separated, into a separate what do you call that, into a separate lane, then you could also go ahead and do something like that. But for simplicity's sake, let's just keep it blocked off, make it nice and easy. Now, as we are done with the southeastern, the so-called rare spawn, let's just go ahead and start working on the southern spawn. Yeah, southern spawn is going to be coming in from somewhere around here. They do spawn in somewhere around there, and they will walk through this point right here towards the burner first, and through this way as well. So if you will notice that there is a recurring theme, which is when the husks are spawning in, as far as possible, we are going to be splitting the spawn, splitting them as much as possible and causing them to be sent into multiple areas, multiple arteries, tributaries, if you will, of these funnels. And if you'll notice as well, based on how we're building the funnels, you'll notice that there are no 2 points where it's just a double, there's no double wall-offs anywhere. If a husk were ever to go anywhere, it's always going to be only one wall that they have to contend with, one wall that they contend with, one wall that they contend with. If they ever get sent anywhere as well, there's always multiple avenues from which they can path, and this basically discourages them from punching any of these walls or exploding any of themselves and causing any kind of structural damage to our build. So that's the main explanation behind this particular build right there. So yeah, southwestern spawn, sorry, this is kind of where the barn is. Fairly straightforward. They'll spawn in from there, go in from here, go in from here, and all of your traps are just going to do all of their amazing work. Southwestern spawn right there, going through these two spawns. Now if you have a western spawn, they're going to be coming through on this side over here. And on this side over here, you'll notice that we actually do have a little forkway right here. You'll come through here, go through there, and go through there. These wall launchers, as you see right here, are basically going to split up the spawn. You're going to send them out, and then they are possibly going to be able to come from this way as well, and that lightens the load of the husks that are spawning in and going through on that particular pathway right there. Now if you're coming in from this other side over here, these ones are going to come in from there, go in from there, go through there, and the ones from up here is going to go through on this side over here and towards the burner. So yeah, that is basically the western spawn. And finally we have the north western spawn, final spawn. They will spawn in from somewhere around there, come in from here, come in from here, and come in from there, and go towards the burner. All this is pretty much, I would like to think, is pretty much self-explanatory. Yeah, all of the pathways are all going to be sending off and blocked off by these wall launchers right here. A couple of points of note, if you see these little blue lines over here, if you're wondering what they are, these are basically the elevated walls that I've been marking out. So level 2 basically demarcates that after these little timeout rooms that we have over here, we have walls up on the second level here, mini 2x1s over here to help to deal additional damage to the husks that spawn in on this side over here. So they get sent back from here, they come through here, they get sent over here and out, and if they do eventually come through here, they'll drop down on this side, and drop down from this side, and they'll start going into this funnel right there. So yeah, as I was explaining earlier as well, I don't like putting any of those freezing traps on any of these areas from which I would like to call our main pathways. So if any of us are going to be using that as a main pathway, we do not want to put any of those freezing traps there, or at least I do not like to, for maximum safety and precautionary measures. So yeah, one final thing as well before we move on is that if this spawn over here, when they do spawn in, sometimes they do in fact will come through on this side as well if you do not block it off. So this is the reason why you'll notice, and on this side over here we've gone ahead and did a hard block off. That is the little hill, isn't it? The northwestern hill. You want to make sure you block it off nice and tight. This entire side as well, you just want to go ahead and reinforce it so that they do not have any strange ideas, you know, and end up coming through here instead. That will be pretty nasty, and you do not want that kind of thing happening. So just go ahead and reinforce tons and tons of walls over there and block it off entirely. Alright, so yeah, so with that as well, I need to indicate also to you guys our floor launches. So as you can see right there, fairly straightforward. If you go ahead and count from the furnace, yeah, 3 away from furnace towards the north, 3 away from the furnace towards the west, 3 away from the furnace towards the east as well. These are all going to be lined with floor launchers. Now, because the southern side is a lot broader, there's a lot more space for us to work with, I would like to keep the build a little bit cheaper. So if you go ahead and extend it out by 4 tiles instead, floor launches are a lot cheaper than having to contend with putting an additional right here. This is what you save. Yeah, if you went ahead and did a 3 tile south as well, this area down here is going to have to be rigged up with gas traps and slowing traps as well. A gas trap is certainly a lot more expensive than a floor launcher, so I would usually recommend, you know, would like to be cost efficient, yeah, to instead use floor launchers more towards the south, you know, if you can. That's at least my preference. This particular build, I mean, in the first place we are using floor launchers because they're really good trap, aren't they? They're a really good trap. So if you have the opportunity to use a little bit more of them, you know, certainly do so. But obviously, the only reason why we're doing this is also because these southern sides as well have had ample opportunity for all of these huts already to be hitting all of those gas traps and all of those damage traps, so that they'll be sufficiently damaged so that the floor launchers will be able to take care of them. Using floor launchers without having any of these gas traps or other damaging traps hit them first will usually result in them surviving the fall, and it's usually not ideal. So yeah, that's pretty much the concept behind it. Now, these are the so-called main key points that I would like to highlight. The wall launchers, the floor launchers, the timeout rooms. Now, if you want to go for a little bit of added flair, I mean, obviously, you know, things like all of these main arteries and all these main spawn areas here as well, I would probably go ahead and say that you guys should know that if there's anything that is having a ceiling on it, you just want to chuck a gas trap on it, alright? There's no other trap that you really want to use. Just put gas traps in all of these main pathways right there, alright? So that's that goes for the ceiling traps. Now, some of these areas here, you will notice, hi, Allura, why are some of these walls, you know, marked out with an X and some of them are marked out with a open square? So I'm here to enlighten you right now. This is basically for additional damage. So if you want to go ahead and spruce up your build a little bit, I would highly recommend for you guys, in fact, to be adding some dart traps. So these sides over here, you notice these little open areas here. Now obviously you don't want to put a really put a wall pusher here, yeah? It sends them right into the burner. That doesn't make sense. So what instead do you want to put over here? What you can put is wall lights. You can put wall lights over here, and the thing about wall lights, or alternatively you can also put wall dynamos. is that you can go ahead and leave a window. You can leave a window on these wall lights or wall dynamos, and when you put a window right here, what you can then do is to go ahead and add these very lovely wall dots. Yeah, you can have wall dots shooting out from right there, and it will go ahead and shoot right down this entire pathway right here, getting immense amounts of value. Not just that, but you also have the added bonus of being able to stun Husk with the wall light over here, or alternatively, if you chose to put some damage, which is the wall dynamo, you will get some additional damage there as well. So if you notice, all of these open areas right here are simply indicators where you can be putting your wall light, wall dots. Yeah? And on these timeout rooms as well, I would highly prefer having wall dynamos. So you have wall dynamo number 1, wall dynamo number 2, and wall dynamo number 3. This is how I would build the timeout room. Now, obviously on this side over here, we have a wall launcher, so there's nothing you can add. However, on this side over here, you'll notice, there's an empty room right here. What can we do with that? Make this a open window. Go ahead and rig up your dart traps. And there you have additional damage shooting not just into the timeout room, but through this entire corridor right there, getting immense amounts of value for your dart trap. Same thing over here. Go ahead and put your window right there, put your dart trap over here, and it will be firing into this room as well. So all these are basically, added damage that you can put into your funnels and be getting a lot and lots of value. So if you I'm not going to draw every single one of these little open rooms right there, but you can sort of see for yourself. Yeah, you can sort of see for yourself how this works, which is whenever you see any of these timeout rooms, whenever you see that there is going to be a freezing trap right here, there is a great opportunity for you to simply put your wall dynamo, and then put your wall dart right there, and then you have your additional damage. Same thing right here, wall dynamo, dart trap, dynamo. All of these inside your funnels, I can pretty much assure you that the amount of damage that will be coming out onto the husk will be so immense. And this has been extensively tested. Yeah, if you have a good group going with a lot of tech, you'll notice that if you have all of your funnels rigged up fully with all of these additional damage, I can pretty much assure you that any of your husky husks or regular husks and stuff like that will never ever make it into the main courtyard area. The only things that will make it into the main courtyard area will be smashers and mist monsters. That's basically it. Because all of the regular husks, all of these timeout rooms, all of this damage over here that they're going to be receiving is going to be more than sufficient to be completely obliterating any regular husk whatsoever. Thing is, it's expensive, so you guys need to make sure that your farmers do their job as well. So yeah, I think that's basically it. I don't think I have anything else to say right here. If you guys have any questions regarding the build, feel free to do so. If you guys want to see this particular build in action as well, feel free to go ahead and stop by my Twitch channel. As you guys can see right there at the bottom left hand side of the screen, twitch.tv/AlluraSC. Yeah, stop by and you can check out the build or ask any questions if you'd like to, or you can simply leave a comment, in the comment section down below. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Best of luck for all of you guys who are attempting to get some last minute runs, into this Frost Knight 128 before it goes away. And for those of you who have already completed it as well, feel free to go ahead and give some of these players who are possibly trying their very best to get this done, a little bit of advice, a little bit of help, And yeah, and for those of you who are perhaps wanting to help and improve this build as well, feel free to send me your suggestions and stuff like that. All these are certainly always welcome. So yeah, that brings me to the end of this video. Thank you all so very much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye now.